Isupk.
On his first day, October 12th, 1492, the explorer wrote in his diary, "I took some of the natives by force."
He did what?
I took some of the natives by force.
What are they talking about? What are they talking about? Thanksgiving, that the Pilgrims and Native Americans had a nice little dinner and all that. No, man. What happened?
I took some of the natives by force.
He said he took some of the natives by force. When he first came over here and got off those ships, Christopher Columbus had nothing but war and destruction and killing and raping and pillaging on his mind, man. That is it. He didn't have no peace on his mind, man. He did what?
I took some of the natives by force.
He said he took some of the natives by force, man. What that mean? That mean he put them to death. He took them by force, man. It wasn't no nice picnic. Ain't nobody cooked nothing. Ain't nobody eat nothing. What he did was got off them ships, gave you Caesar Borgia. If you didn't take Caesar Borgia, right, you died. You were murdered. Let me say murdered, because that's a murder. You were murdered, black man, Hispanic man, Native American man. It's about time you understand that. Keep going.
Sir. He later found the original inhabitants to be tractable, peaceful.
Wait, he said what?
He later found the original inhabitants.
The original inhabitants, right? The so-called Native Americans and the so-called Hispanics, they were what?
Tractable and peaceful. Peaceable.
Right, they were a peaceable people. That's what they were, man. That's what you are, man. You are peaceable people, man.
Right.
You like peace, but you know who don't like peace? The so-called white man. He doesn't like peace.
That's right.
He doesn't like peace. To get his family back together, he will murder his brothers, man. That's what's happening right now with Russia and Ukraine. Putin wanted to get his brothers back together, and he murders the Ukrainians. He invades Ukraine, and he tries to kill his brothers. But we have a king that died for us, man. That died for his brothers and sisters, man.
That's right.
We have a king that died for his brothers and his sisters, man. That's why Christ is so important. A black man from the tribe of Judah, man. He died for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. He died for us, man. And we're gonna dishonor his name and make covenants with these other nations, man. To hell with them, man. Keep going, Ak.
And concluded, there is not in the world a better nation.
There's what?
There is not in the world a better nation.
He called Hispanics and so-called Native Americans the greatest nation on the planet. He said there's no other nation that's better than them. That's Deuteronomy 7 right there. That's Deuteronomy 7 and 6 right there. So if you don't know that that Hispanics and Native Americans are Israelites, Christopher Columbus just told you were.
Right.
Christopher Columbus just told you he was the greatest people on the planet. And then he murdered you. Keep going, huh?
His response as an European was to say that the Indians must be made to work.
He said that the Native Americans and the Hispanics must be made to work, man. He said they must be made to work for free. Keep going, huh?
And adopt our ways.
And do what?
And adopt our ways.
And adopt Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter and Mother's Day and Father's Day. He said we must be made to work and adopt our ways. Eating pork, shrimp, crab, lobster. Right? Having interracial marriages, man. Interracial sex, man. Doing drugs. Smoking cigarettes. We must be made to adopt their ways, man. And leave our ways behind, man. Keep going, on.
The Christopher Columbus, whose unique seamanship and courage has opened the Americans to European penetration, also began the transatlantic slave trade.
It said that because Christopher Columbus was a seaman, that the so-called Native Americans and the so-called Hispanics started the transatlantic slave trade. You started the transatlantic slave trade, and blacks finished it. The so-called Negro finished the transatlantic slave trade, but the Hispanics and the so-called Native Americans, you started the transatlantic slave trade. Go ahead, keep going. Oh, matter of fact, on boats like the Santa Maria and the Pinta Natividad. Those are the slave ships that started the transatlantic slave trade with the so-called Tainos, with the Hispanics, with the Hispanics and the so-called Native Indians. You started the slave trade, man. Keep going.
He started by shipping 10 chained Iraq men and women to Seville.
Right. He started by shipping men and women, Arawak Indians. Right. He started shipping them first. Go ahead.
To Seville, Spain.
Right.
In 1949. In 1498.
In 1498. Keep going.
He wrote enthusiastically to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella,
right,
about the business possibilities. From there, in the name of the Blessed Trinity, we can send up.
So now he's starting to give it up to Christianity, talk about the Blessed Trinity, which is a lie. That the Trinity is not in the Bible.
Right.
The Trinity is not in the Bible. That is a lie from the Christian and Catholic Church. And they've been lying about it for years, man. Thousands of years, man. They've been lying about that Trinity doctrine. That's going to fall when Christ returns, man. When Yahushua Mashiach, the King of Israel, returns, that's going to fall with Christianity and Catholicism.
Right.
Keep going.
We can send all the slaves that can be sold.
Right. Now they're talking about now. Look, we can send all the slaves from over here that can be sold over there into slavery. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about the Native Indians becoming the first that went on slave ships. That was first in going on slave ships. The so-called Native Americans was. Go ahead. And we're bringing out in history books, man. We're having history books over here. Go ahead.
When he loaded 1,100 Taino men and women aboard, Taino men and women aboard 4 Spanish ships.
Right. So he loaded the Tainos, right? The so-called Tainos on slave ships, man. Men, women, and children. He put them on slave ships, man. The first to go on slave ships were the so-called Tainos, man. The so-called Native Americans and the so-called Hispanics were the first to go on slave ships. Go ahead.
And crowding and the stormy When he loaded 1,100 Taino men and women aboard 4 Spanish ships,
right?
The crowding and the stormy.
It says the crowding. That's cargo slave ships. That's cargo slave ships right there. When you load men, women, and children onto slave ships, right? And then it says that it was crowded. That's cargo slave ships. Do we have that sign out here? Where's that sign at? Slavery in America, just like over here, just like the Negroes, but also the Hispanic and the Native Americans. They started. Well, we started. They was the first to go on the slave ships, man. They were the first to go on the slave ships, and then when they sent all of them and murdered all of them, then they came and they got the so-called Negroes. Go ahead.
The crowding and the stormy Atlantic crossing took a fearful toll.
Right.
Only 300 survived.
Out of 1,100 so-called Tainos going on slave ships, only 300 survived. Yeah. Only 300 survived. And that was just the first slave ship that went, because they came back and got more. Look what this devil is about to say now. Go ahead. Yeah, keep going.
But Columbus and Spain had decided to continue the profitable slave trade from the Americas.
Right. So it says Columbus and Spain decided to continue the slave trade from the Americas with my Hispanic brothers and with my so-called my so-called Native American brothers. My Native American brothers and my Hispanic brothers were the first to go on slave ships, cargo slave ships. And that is biblical prophecy to the Israelites, man. That is showing that you're Israelites. Keep going on. It gets worse.
Seville became the slave capital of Spain.
Right, it says Seville became the slave capital of Spain. So when the slave ships were getting to Spain and getting to Seville, Spain, they'd be shipped all over Europe. All about us going on slave ships. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans going on slave ships. The Bible speaks about all the atrocities that happened between the so-called white man and blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The Bible speaks about this. Now we're about to get a little bit of knowledge from the Bible that you're not going to get in the Christian church or the Catholic church or any other organization other than the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. That's the only place you're going to get this knowledge at, because we teach the truth of the Bible.
Nobody tell you cry. You know why? Because I never saw you before. But you a black man like me.
My whole life was trying to find something to follow. Had loyalty, every man tried to borrow. Felt pain and a lot of sorrow. Got betrayed, so packed, I didn't even have my heart broke. Living confused, about to lose hope. Cops got me on the side of the road like a sideshow. Need an antidote before I croak. Now I'm setting fire to rhythm man blues, call this guitar smoke. Rebel with no cause, trying to find direction. The world got me vexed. Picked up a bad liquor habit that's hereditary from oppression. Felt like my life was on fire, trying to find an exit. Now look, 10 G's plus a good wreck. Sometimes a follower is a soldier, trying to find a good ship. Plus when you in hell, how do you excel? Wisdom the breath of life, I don't believe in fairy tale. Listen well to what I tell. No calling can cause pain, something that a rebel knows very well. Can't you tell I was sent from the Lord?